Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Sam. I'm a licensed hairstylist. I've been doing hair professionally for about 2.5 years. February 2018 is when I graduated cosmetology school. So this coming February will make 3 years since I graduated. And I've been sharing my entire experience and my journey here on YouTube, my experience picking my school, going to school, things that I learned, and then all of my experiences since graduating and becoming a stylist. I try to be as informative as possible and share as much as I can for anyone else who's interested in this career path. I will have my cosmetology journey playlist linked in the description. Feel free to go check that out. But in today's video, I want to share what you can expect after graduating cosmetology school. So I had to sit down and brainstorm a little bit, and I have a whole list of some things based on my personal experience that I think is worth knowing and being prepared for. So the first thing that you can most likely expect, and keep in mind, of course, that all of these things are not going to be true for every single person coming right out of cosmetology school, but I think that in general for most people these things are going to be true. So the first thing is, expect there to be an adjustment period that's going to last for at least a few months, if not an entire year. When I was in cosmetology school, I got to a point where I felt really comfortable and really confident with what I was doing, especially when it comes to hair color. I wasn't even really needing my teacher's help majority of the time when I was doing a color appointment. And I felt like I got hit in the face by a truck when I worked at my first salon, because I was really having a lot of mess ups. And I think that there's a few contributing factors to that. Number one, the salon that I worked at right after school used a totally different color line than what I had been using in school. So that threw things off quite a bit, because not only were they not the same color line, but they were not even like comparable. And also at my school, a lot of the clientele there was kind of like all the same. It was a lot of white girls. I'm going to be totally honest. White girls with just naturally smooth hair for the most part. And the first salon that I worked at, it was much more diverse, and a lot of the clients I was getting there, they had coarser, thicker, curlier hair. It didn't lift the same. It didn't take to color in the same way. And so I struggled a little bit. And I think that especially like coming into the salon feeling super confident, it really like threw me for a loop when all of a sudden I was struggling. It definitely made me question my skills. And that's another thing that you could kind of expect. You might go through a period of time where you question if this is the right field for you. I know that I definitely did, which was crazy because I pretty much majority of my life always knew that I loved doing hair, and I was pretty sure that this was like the right path for me. But there was a few months in the beginning where I was like, maybe I'm not cut out for this after all. Because I was just having a lot of mess ups. I was having a lot of unhappy clients, having a lot of moments where I just wasn't happy with my own work. The next thing that you can kind of expect that goes along with all of these other ones is expect to have mistakes, because they will happen. Even now, after having almost 3 years of experience under my belt, I still have moments where I mess things up. I think the difference is now I have more experience and more knowledge, and so I stay calmer and I know how to fix the issue before like the client even becomes aware of it usually. But even my boss, who has almost 20 years of experience, she has her moments where she messes something up or things don't necessarily go how she expected them to. So it happens to everyone, and I think knowing that gives you kind of a sense of relief so that you don't freak out as much and you don't feel like, oh my god, I'm the worst hairstylist in the entire world, what am I doing, I suck. So just know that it's gonna happen. It happens to everyone, and you shouldn't beat yourself up over it. It's gonna be okay, and those mistakes are what makes us better stylists in the long run. I feel like even with all of the courses that I've taken, all of the additional education that I've done, I absolutely have learned the most from my own personal one-on-one mistakes. The next thing to expect, and a little advice, is don't be afraid to ask for help. because you are going to need help. There's no way that you're going to come out of cosmetology school already knowing everything that there is to know. You're going to start working in a salon and you're going to come across things that you've never even considered when you were in cosmetology school. That's just how life works. There's no way that you can ever be 100% prepared for every little thing that's gonna come your way. And I definitely had my moments where I didn't wanna look inexperienced to my client. And honestly, I know that from a client's perspective, they'd rather have their stylist stop and ask somebody to help them out than to just try to do something on their own, not knowing what they're doing and then potentially messing up. Actually, just recently, like maybe about a month or two ago, and I shared this in a vlog. If you guys are interested, by the way, I do vlogs where I bring you along to work and I show you the hair that I'm doing in the salon. But I had a client come in and her hair was just like so porous that it just wasn't accepting the color correctly in some spots, and it was just like, I toned it like 3 different times and it just wasn't looking right. So I eventually just stopped and I asked my boss and I was like, can I get your opinion? Like, is it just me or is this looking really dull? And what do you think I should do differently? Definitely don't be afraid to ask for help ever in your career, but especially in the very beginning when you're just starting. Building off of that point, you will realize how much you still have to learn as far as your skills and the services that you're doing, but also as far as how to deal with clients. That's why I always strongly suggest assisting before becoming a full-time stylist. So whether you assist while you're still in school, which is what I did, and that's what I suggest, that way you can kind of like get it over with. But I think that it's so important to at least for a few months assist. So that way you can kind of like work under somebody, see what they're doing, see how they handle the day-to-day ins and outs in the salon. And I do think that it's a really good idea to work commission-based first. Be an employee at a salon before going off on your own. I know a lot of people get really excited to graduate and they just want to immediately go off on their own and either booth rent or open up their own salon. And I think that that's great and it's, you know, an amazing goal to have. But I really feel like from my own experience and from what I've seen from all the other stylists that I know personally, you really need to get that experience and you need to learn and see how other stylists handle things before going off on your own. Just know that you're still gonna have a lot to learn and don't feel overwhelmed or intimidated or feel like you're not ready just because there's still a lot that you need to learn. That's totally normal. The next thing to keep in mind when you first graduate cosmetology school is to stay open to criticism and don't take it personally. I remember at the first salon that I worked at, my boss would pull me aside and just give me a little bit of constructive criticism. Like, you know, hey, I think that next time maybe you should do it like this instead, or I noticed that you were struggling with this, so, you know, if you do it like this instead, that can make it a little easier or something like that. I absolutely could have taken it personally and got offended and been like, I don't need you to tell me what to do. At the end of the day, this is work, this is business, and yes, we're producing art with our hands, and so it is a very personal thing. We're putting a lot of like passion into what we're doing. So if somebody has something critical to say about our art, it's a little hard to not take it personally, but you can't. You need to take that criticism so that you can become the best stylist that you can be. The next thing to expect is that you will have a lot of free time. Now, depending if you happen to live in a very busy big city and you get hired at a really busy salon that just has a lot of foot traffic and a lot of clients, then you might be fully booked right off the bat. But majority of new clients coming straight out of beauty school are not going to be booked. You're going to have time, and it's not always like steady growth. You might get to a point where you have a week where you are fully booked back to back, and then the next week you have like one client for the entire week. That's normal too. You're most likely gonna have a lot of free time. You're gonna have days where you barely have any clients in your book at all. So use that time wisely. Rather than sitting around, messing around on your phone, playing games, or just sitting and like talking with your coworkers, use that time to work on your portfolio, work on marketing yourself online, practice on a mannequin, watch an online course. Make the most of that free time while you have it, because that's ultimately going to help you become a better stylist, get booked faster, which by the way, I recently started offering online courses, so I'll have the link to my website in the description if you guys are interested. As of right now, I have 3 up there. One is on how to do a good thorough consultation. The other one is how to foliage on dark hair. And then the second one is how to do a sun-kissed balayage with clay lightener. And I do have a video all about how I grew my clientele through Instagram. So I'll put a link to it up in the cards and in the description if you're interested in watching that after this video. Oh, and I also have another video where I share how I get my content for Instagram. So I'll link that one as well. And all of the information that I share in those videos are great things to do during your free time between clients at the salon. Don't expect to make a lot of money right away. Now, again, it depends on where you live, of course, but most stylists coming straight out of school, you're not going to be as busy. Also, your prices are probably going to be lower than the stylists who have more experience because, you know, naturally your work's maybe not as good. You work a little bit slower. So it's definitely going to take some time before you get to a point where you're making a really good, steady income. For some stylists, it can take a few months. For others, it can take 1 year, 2 years. I do know a lot of stylists personally who right out of cosmetology school did have to get a second job to help make ends meet until they got to a point where they did have a more steady income from the salon. Don't get caught up comparing yourself to other stylists, whether it's other stylists who graduated around the same time as you, or especially stylists that are more experienced than you. While it's great to look to other people for motivation and inspiration, but if you're feeling really down on yourself because you feel like you're not at the same level as someone else, that's not going to do you any good. I know that that was definitely something that I struggled with a lot, especially because I actually went to cosmetology school a little bit later in life. By the time I graduated from school, I was a few months away from turning 26. So I was looking at a lot of stylists that were my same age that went to beauty school straight out of high school. And at that point, some of them already had like 10 years of experience. So they were a lot more successful than I was. They were making more money. They had way more clients. They just had more experience. Their work was better. They were faster than me. They were owning their own salons. And so I, a lot of the times, would feel bad about myself. But I quickly got out of that because, like I said, it's not doing me any good. It's not going to help me improve or get any better by feeling bad about myself and comparing myself. So those are all of my tips and everything based on my experience that I think you can expect when you graduate cosmetology school. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. Like I said, I will have links to everything that I mentioned in the description, my online courses, my cosmetology journey playlist, and all of the videos that I talked about. If you liked this video and you like this type of content, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye!